on Felicia. Private security companies in South Africa.
How effective are they against crime?
Our guys patrol those particular spots.
Find our arms behind us.
We are getting a call that controller has to handle every 6.5 seconds.
Lying dead there. Not everybody can afford it. What do we do?
I think a lot of security tips are quite simple things.
We went out of our car and we screamed.
Thank you. Private security companies, along with the police, are at the forefront of fighting crime in South Africa. Let's talk to security personnel who have been wounded in action. Reinforce, please come in. Johannes and Anthony, come in. Have a seat there. Anthony, Johannes, there you are. How are you doing?
I'm all right.
You're all right.
Yes.
What happened? I hear you were shot in action. You went to protect a client.
Yes, I was like following up that the client is still all right before my childhood time. And he probably thought I'm a robber or something. And he started shooting. I was like outside his yard.
So he had, what had happened before at the client's house?
Well, somebody jumped his gates and was trying to break in his car. That's exactly what.
And you were just coming back to check if everything was fine, and there it was, shot on the head.
Yes.
Let me see. And this was last year, April, year 2000.
Yes, it was.
Scary job.
Well, scary, but somebody's got to do it.
I like that. Same thing with you, Anthony?
Yeah, it's the same. I was having a panic. I was proceeding to the premises. When I got there, I walked into the place. I saw 3 persons was coming out, Bravo persons, and they greeted me, and the 4th one was coming out, was having a firearm in front of his pants. And I thought, no, there's problems. And the other 3 starts to scream at him. And then I start to run, and I pull the firearm, start shooting at me. They shot me in my left arm. And I start shooting back, and I start running out of the premises into the street. And I shot one suspect down. His friends take him and try to run away again with him. And I shot another shot, and I put him down again and left him. I ran away. I got into my vehicle. I proceeded near where he lies. I was getting out of my vehicle, and I arrested him for armed robbery.
You also shot before in the mouth?
Yes, also an armed robbery. I was also riding into the armed robbery.
Johannes?
We were patrolling the banks from Dube to Muletsani. And unfortunately, I had to contact my manager through the phone, and I forgot myself on that day. So I had to go and use the Vodacom phones. So I walked into the container, and as I was busy paying for the phone, 3 guys walked into the container and they started opening fire on me. They shot me from the back, on the arm, and on my shoulder. At the same time, they were busy shooting my partner outside who was in the vehicle. So I shot back, and then I managed to get out, and they ran away. I went into one of the yards which were near there and asked for help. They helped me until the cops came.
I think earlier Anthony was saying we're not security guards. A security guard is someone who stands at a shop.
That's right.
and looks after the shop.
And that's right.
What's the term?
Because we are response officers. We respond to the premises. We respond where problems is. And the guard's work is to look after the premises. He stands the whole time on the premises to look after the premises. That's why I call armed response. Because we respond to the premises.
You're there to assist the police because there's just so much happening out here that you have had to have private security to be able to assist.
Yeah. When we assist the SAP, sometimes they pass us and ask us, can you just come assist us? We're busy to chase suspects, and we go and we help them try to get the suspects also. Because sometimes one is maybe alone, and you also have to help him for giving backup and try to stop the criminal.
Have you ever seen one of your friends die in front of you?
It once happened to me while I was still in pyramid security, not in sharp security. Yeah.
And it happened?
It happened, yes.
In fact, Catherine Costello is also here with us. wife of Sean Costello, was killed in action. Catherine, let's talk. I know it's still very fresh.
It happened last year, on the 14th of May, 2000. It was Mother's Day, and, I was busy, and the divisional manager, Wendy, came home, and she told me that she needed to talk, and she got around to telling me what happened, and I still wouldn't believe it until she took me down to the hospital, and that's where, I actually saw Sean lying dead there, and there were Wendy was a lot of comfort through all of that time of my bereavement. And, I tried to take it a day at a time.
Any children?
Yes, I have a son from Sean, Ewan Brady, a very spitting image of his father.
How old is he?
He's 2. And, they always say you can pack away the memories, but if you share a child with someone that you love and they pass on, you cannot pack away the little child. So, even if you tried, you can't. But I have Brady, so every day that I look at him, I see Sean.
But I bet you every day or each time he left the house, you expected something to happen. It is a dangerous job.
It is. In order to help somebody, you got to give your life. In the way that, compared to what happened to Sean, he tried helping somebody and his life went. So I can probably say, that was a man that really went all out to help somebody.
Thanks, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Thank you. More stories after we return. The life of a reaction officer.
Still coming
He
tonight.
leant over and he said, do as he says, otherwise he's going to kill you.
They dragged us to the lawn, tied our arms behind us.
We went out of our car and we screamed.
Are you a senior citizen that feels you are being abused? Have you reached your twilight years and are not being looked after properly? We would like to speak to you. We'd like to help. Phone now on 082 280 8585.
Have you had a holiday from hell?
It sank within 20 minutes, so you really didn't have much time to, think what to do.
Crayfish and prawn dinners.
They gave us a bucket of water with a tin to wash in. They gave us a roll with a little bit of tuna, said that's supper.
Exciting. And?
We actually didn't have a holiday. We had nothing but hell.
Thanks again for sharing your stories. Difficult job, as we all agree. And as you say, someone has to do it.
Yes.
But now I want to move away a little bit to the people that you protect to see what crime is all about in our country, how it affects so many people. But recently, Keith Kirsten was hijacked by 4 smartly dressed men in his car park.
Keith, you were recently hijacked. It seemed as though it was very organized. They'd been following you. What happened?
Well, first of all, I was picked up obviously on the road and they drove up behind me. So I was not concentrating and looking in my rearview mirror. I was on the cell phone. A call had actually come in on my hands-free kit and I was busy on the phone. And so I was distracted and my mind was off of anything to do with the road. I'm in my own car park. Subconsciously, I knew there were staff and customers, and my partner had just driven into the nursery as well, and that I had 2 security guards in the nursery. So I thought, this can't be happening. They're not going to take my car. But unfortunately, then the big black Cherokee that had driven in next to me that I was totally unaware of was parked next to me. And I saw these tinted windows come down, both of them together. That's why I knew there was only one guy in the vehicle. And he leant over and he said, do as he says, otherwise he's going to kill you. And that's it. And he had already said to me, don't do that. When I pulled the keys out of the ignition, he said, don't do that. He said, I'm going to kill you. So I don't know what else. That's it.
They drove off in the car. What did you do? What was the first thing you did?
Well, when I obviously made the decision that I must hand over and I must just get out, I must have I turned and I walked away from the car fast to begin with, and then I ran to the shop. I asked them to press the panic buttons and to call the police and to alert our security.
Keith, what preventative measures are you now taking to ensure that something similar doesn't happen to you again?
One should not be busy on phones. Do not drive up to robots and stop suddenly. You should actually test or anticipate when the robot's going to change and then go through the robot. And I don't mean go through red robots, but certainly don't get to a robot and sit waiting to be hijacked. And thirdly, I think you've got to be looking in your rearview mirror and aware of who's behind you at any time. It happens in driveways as you're going into or out of your home, and it happens in car parks.
I'd like to talk to some more people right here in studio who have evidence crime firsthand. Where's Hank?
We were having a beer together at our farm, which we recently bought in Mpumalanga. And we were planning to retire there in a couple of years. We were attacked by 5 armed men in the house.
They dragged us to the lawn, tied our arms behind us, the guns on us. Then after an hour, they took us to the bedroom. And they tied us up again. You talk again.
That was very, very traumatic because it's the obvious thing. You think immediately they're going to rape, and we begged them, don't rape my wife. You know, you're telling each other you love each other. You whisper it because you're not allowed to talk. And you expect the bullets to fly any moment. So we faced death very, very close by, very nearly. Anyway, we were tied up in total 4 hours, and then we escaped. We took a rope off, and we escaped through the window, and we hid in the bush for an hour. And in the middle of the night, we walked to the nearest neighbor, which was a kilometer away, woke them up, and phoned 10-111.
At 10:30.
That was 10:30.
3 o'clock, the first constable came in the morning.
Thanks a million. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. But, you know, that's when I say, when do you hit the panic button? How fast are they going to come? Is it effective? Will they be able to come and foil this crime that's taking place at that time? Are they going to get shot like those gentlemen here?
You know, Felicia, wrong place at the wrong time, and I guess nothing can save you. The reality, though, is that security perhaps can be best defined as making oneself a more difficult target than the neighbor alongside. But there are no guarantees. And, you know, it doesn't take a fraction of a second to pull a trigger. And if that is the first action that the criminal element take, then no reaction or no security can actually overcome that particular set of circumstances.
Thank you. You know, we sleep with guns at our side, panic buttons, electric fences. I don't know, this beautiful country. James, you want to share your story with me?
Yes, Felicia. I went to pick up my son after karate practice, and I just stopped in front of the school, 7 o'clock the evening, and 7:05, the guys just opened my car door and they shot me. Through my arm, through my chest, inside my lung. The bullet is still sitting inside.
Nothing.
No warning. They just grabbed me and they just shot me, that's all.
The bullet is still sitting where?
Still inside my chest.
Look here. Where are you from?
My son and I were hijacked
Hold
on
the mic to you.
21st of April last year. We were leaving home to go to a friend, and I'd left something at home, went back to get something, and I had 5 guys basically pull up behind me, jump out the car, surround my car. They came to my door, tried to open my car door, and I just locked it in time. Otherwise, I would have opened it and got us out. My son went through a very bad patch after the attempted hijacking. I was very lucky to have got away the way I did. But it's just very sad that our kids have to go and experience this, and it's not a normal life.
Thank you. Is crime getting worse, or is it spreading, Captain?
In a way, we can say more and more of these crimes are being reported, and that might give an indication to people that it's getting worse. But I'm glad that the people are reporting this, because then we can know get the necessary information and do the necessary arrests.
Let me continue talking to Petra. Hi, Petra.
Our first hijacking, we've been through two. Our first hijacking happened on the 28th of October, 1988. We were coming back from our son's school play, and my fiancé at the time opened the gates, drove the car in, and we crossed our paths. I went to open the front door, and my fiancé went to close the gates. And I heard a scuffle behind me, and I turned around, and I thought it was Noel doing a kind of dance, because we'd watched some dancing at the school play. Unfortunately, there were three men with 4 guns. And they patted us down. They took me inside the house. From there, my memory's a little bit hazy, but they did take us into the lounge eventually, tied us up, ransacked the house, assaulted Noel, took my son from me, dragged him down the passage, and tried to lock him into the bathroom.
He must be traumatized by all of this, though.
Felicia, very, very. It's affected his schoolwork to such a degree.
Come here, sweetie. Are you okay?
Yes.
Are you strong again?
Yes.
Mm?
Yes.
Was it really bad? Were you
Yes.
scared to death?
Yes.
What did you feel like doing?
Just wanted to go to my crane.
Oh. But you okay now?
Yes.
How long did this happen?
It was 2 years ago.
Mm.
And the second one was 4 months later. We actually got off very lightly because they shot at Noel and Vincent in the car while I was standing behind the gates trying to hide from them.
Oh, give me a hug, my baby. Mm. No? Are you okay? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. You know what? I can't help but say, I've noticed you've been crying a lot. Are you okay? What
Yes,
happened?
I'm fine now. Just listening to these people. And it's very sad.
Mm.
Yeah. Very sensitive, that's why.
Mm. Shirley. Where's Shirley? You know, it looks like, I don't know where the black people. I mean, we experience crime daily in the township, and I'm not sure why you're not here to talk about it.
I've actually been a victim of crime 3 times. The last time was the 12th of March.
Oh, girl. Go ahead, try. Excuse me. Oh, come on, sweetie. Are you okay?
It was the 12th of March, 1999, and 3 guys walked into my office, and they beat my bosses up with their guns. Then they came back out to the office, and they asked me for money, and I gave them, I think it was 1,200, and the one guy went behind me, and he stuck his gun to my head, and he said that he's going to shoot me. And my flatmate at the time then was with me at work, and she begged him, please, not to do anything. So he turned around, and he started hitting me on the side of my face.
Mm.
And then the time before that was in the same office. 4 guys walked in, and they thought I'd pushed the panic button.
Where are your offices?
At that stage, it was in Wynberg. And my boss didn't want to put security on the gates, on the door, because he said that people will think it's a dangerous area.
And then you end up being victims.
Yes, and I actually left that job because I took 3 days off work, and my boss ended up taking money off my salary because I was off for 3 days.
How insensitive. 3, that's not easy to get over. And I want to talk to you later on about how do people overcome such trauma. You know, as a psychologist, maybe you'll be able to help us out. After the break, we'll continue talking to more people and about crime in general.
Still to come tonight.
3 guys. The one was holding a gun.
Ransack it, smash everything, kill my animals.
Felicia's heart is in the right place.
Felicia really cares about children.
She makes us laugh.
I'll tell you about it later.
She makes me cry.
Okay, sweetheart.
Felicia Mabuza-Suttle, she gets us talking.
Because if we as journalists don't tell the truth, Who is?
She really cares and she loves children.
Oh yes, all right, say the meal.
I love Felicia, she's the best.
We're talking crime, we're talking private security companies, how they work with the police, how they help protect us in our homes. There's a young lady here who says she decided to just take it upon herself to help someone who's being hijacked. Mule.
Yes. I was with my friends. It was in the morning, 8:05, and we were traveling at R55, Kyalami Road to Woodmead. On the robots of Sunning Hill, the robots were closed. Then we saw three guys. The one was holding a gun on his hand. And there was a white man. He was driving on with a white BMW, the latest BMW. This guy who was having a gun on his hand, he shot on the floor. And the poor guy got out of the car, and he didn't know what to do. And together with my friends, we went out of our car, and we screamed. And people, they look at us as if we were mad or something. No one could help us. And the poor guy saw that we are on his side. He ran towards us. And those three guys, when the robot opened, they got into the car, and it was difficult for them to drive that car. They were struggling to drive that car. Luckily, there was someone behind us. There was a gentleman following us. Then he stopped. When he stopped, he helped us, and we told them that the robot next robots, there are 10,111 guys waiting there. Then we found those guys when they came in. Then that's the time when we went off.
You are brave, girls. But I think what Mule is saying here is, come on, folks, when we see something happen, let's do something about it. What happens is we say, it's none of our business, let me move on. But Chris, your story is also quite interesting. Could you take this mic? I mean, crime is so diverse in this country and everywhere, by the way. Please, let's understand, crime is everywhere, but I sometimes think it is brutal in South Africa. Your story, why would anyone want to bomb your house?
Well, very briefly, I dared to complain about a noisy nightclub, and a series of attacks followed on my house. People would come into my house during the day, ransack it, smash everything, kill my animals. And then one night, while I was out, somebody threw a bomb through my lounge window and destroyed the entire house. There's approximately 500,000 rands damage. When I got home, all I owned was three shirts and 3 pairs of pants. And that still didn't stop them. Unfortunately, I had problems with the insurance company, and they didn't settle the claim. So I was staying in a back room of the house, and the gangster decided they still wanted me out. So they took to shooting at me on a Saturday and Sunday night and a Friday night. And although I've been armed throughout, I've tried not to retaliate, because if we all start shooting each other, we've got a problem. And then one night they came back again. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. And I went to the front to see what was happening, because there was rocks landing on my roof, and Tony was there. He actually saw the whole thing. And when I got to the front of the house, I was standing in the lounge, or the remains of my lounge. 3 people opened fire on me from 3 different directions. And unfortunately, I was standing in the exact position where the previous bomb had landed. So I wasn't certain whether another bomb was coming across, and they were shooting, and I thought, no, this is it. So I shot back, and I'm a better shot than them. They fired about 20 bullets and hit nothing except the wall. I fired 5 shots and hit 4 of them.
Wow.
And that was the end of it. Eventually, that was the final crux in the war, if we'd like to call it that. The attackers were from the nightclub. One of them was, in fact, a bouncer from the nightclub.
How do you know? Do you have proof of all of this?
Oh, yes, names, addresses. The bouncer was, in fact, apparently also a policeman moonlighting as a guard for the nightclub.
But why would they want to shoot at you? Because you're making noise about the club?
Well, yes, the club should never have been there. The facilities were inadequate, but obviously very lucrative. There used to be, on a Friday and Saturday night, about 250 cars. So if one quantifies that in terms of money, it's quite a good business. And anyone wanting to stop that business obviously wouldn't be very welcome.
How do you deal, Anna-Marie, with the trauma that you've heard in studio here?
It depends very much on the person, Felicia, and the situation. There's been some very, very touching stories, and it seems that a lot of the people here has not had their trauma resolved. It's important that your support systems are good. It's important that you speak to somebody who understands. Yeah, and then we must deal on a preventative level as well, you know, in the bigger community sense, which is also very important.
You're a psychologist. Can you help us out?
What would you like me to
Counseling,
Yes.
help her through her. She's gone through trauma, and that's what you do.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one can. That's what we do.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you
yeah.
very much. After the break, we go with you to an
Armed Reaction Patrol.
Armed Reaction Patrol.
That's right.
There we are.
We are getting a call that controller has to handle every 6.5 seconds, on average, 24 hours, 365 days of the year.
Have you been a victim of fraud or a scam? Have you been conned? Do you know of an individual or a company that is involved in fraudulent schemes? Give us a call. We would like to help on 082 280 8585. Send any topic suggestions that you might have for the Felicia Show to FMS Productions, PO Box 29896, Melville 2109. Or you can email us at fmsp@iafrica.com. To be in the studio audience, book your seat right now. Phone Johannesburg 476-8411 or 2.
We are talking about protecting your home. Armed response officers. Those that face fear almost every day are the rapid response officers who look after our homes. We're joining them right now on a patrol. On a patrol, really?
Yeah.
Armed patrol. That's right.
An alarm has been activated. Patrol cars are dispatched, and moments later they arrive on the scene.
Joel from Chopam response hold.
Come on, let's go.
That was scary. But does this happen all the time? MC, you're looking at me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's our whole business is about helping people out in dangerous situations, and that's why we're there. Unfortunately, only for the people that can afford it.
That's the sad part.
That is the sad part about it. And as we've seen tonight, crime is rampant in our country, and these officers are on the patrol every day, every night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Wendy, you sit in that control room every night. You're in charge of it, in essence. Most of the calls that come through, they say 99.5% of them are false alarms.
Every now and again they get a genuine incident, but the majority of their calls are false alarms. The difference is that they never know when it's going to be a false alarm. And so the men have to be prepared and trained to deal with any situation. It could be a genuine, you never know.
And Felicia, just to give you an idea, if you just think about the numbers that come in, and just take a company, one company, we talk a client base of 120,000 clients. We are getting a call that controller has to handle every 6.5 seconds, on average, 24 hours, 365 days of the year. And a motor car is dispatched There's an armed reaction vehicle every 10.5 seconds. Just put that into context. And that's an average over a full year.
But you go back to the township. I mean, how many people are able to afford armed response?
Well, I think in the past, the perception was that this kind of service was only for the rich. But now that myth has been done away with. So people are now beginning to come in large numbers because the service is definitely affordable.
You have to feed your family first before you can afford security, though.
It's true, but on the other hand, you know, the life is just equally important, maybe even more important.
I can hear people out there already saying, well, the police should be protecting me, that's why I pay my taxes. And why aren't they? Why do I need extra security? You explained to me during the break.
Oh, Felicia, you know, let's take the reality that there aren't enough resources on the ground. We have, as a country, many areas where the limited resources that we have need to be distributed. And the police force are just one of them, education, and we can go into many others. And the reality is there just isn't enough money to go around. And as we've said already, the tragedy is that organizations, private security, obviously are a business and they exist to return, to produce a return for the shareholders, on the one hand. And
are
therefore,
you here to supplement the police? Is that what you're saying?
well, there is a role that one does by mere presence, but if one was to take the township area, there aren't that level of resources running around the township. I mean, if you take the Greater Johannesburg, at the moment, at any one time, I would guess on private security, armed reaction vehicles, you'd probably find 600 to 800 vehicles on the road at any one time, covering the client base, the Greater Johannesburg. Now, by mere presence, they will come across incidents that take place in that area. But if one then moves that into the townships, there aren't that level of private security vehicles rolling around. And therefore, it is unfortunately, at the moment, there isn't an answer for the society that can't afford it.
Why do we have to live like this? If I press that panic button, tell me what happens. You're in that control room, what happens?
If they find out that there is a problem or if they can't make contact at the site, they will dispatch an armed response vehicle. So armed response officers' responsibility to try and get into your premises and to inspect the site. To a large extent, your security remains a client's responsibility. We're there to help. We can help as far as what we can, but there are no guarantees. And that's why people that have electric fences and high walls and that kind of thing need to be careful and make sure that our staff can get in as well. The men are obviously trained to deal with those situations. Various companies have various methods of letting our staff into a premises. But ultimately, you need to be careful that the staff can get in. It doesn't help if you're inside and the security staff can't get in either.
But not everybody can afford it. What do we do?
I think a lot of security tips are quite simple things. Having a good armed response company is a major factor because of the fact that the police can't cope. Other things can be simple things like lighting, getting to know your neighbours, making sure your numbers are visible. Often it's small things that people don't think about. And just being aware and staying alert. Probably the best security you can have is to get to know your neighbour. If they see something suspicious, they'll contact your response company and say, listen, there's a problem next door. And that can be very beneficial.
How effective are the companies that protect us?
They're
very
effective.
Very effective. Especially if I can paint the township scenario. I think if you look at Deep Kloof Extension, for instance, where we are very visible because of the number of clients that we have there, we have really contributed to a very large extent. You know, there were people that who'd be mugged whilst they're jogging in the morning, you know, and our guys are out driving around at that time of the day, and they've been able to help people. There are places where people alight from taxis which are not guarded by the police. Our guys patrol those particular spots, and in that sense, we've been able to lower the level of crime activity in those areas.
If for example, I heard something happening next door at my neighbor's house, and I hit my panic button, would you come and help my neighbor, even if my neighbor is not with CHUB, or is not with Sentry, or is not with
BBR?
I just want to add there, you know,
or Saints.
Yes, with township, what they're doing now, because some people really cannot afford it, what they do, some people will piggyback on somebody in the same row who can afford that system. You know, so if somebody's got has got a problem, and you can reach the person who's got the panic button, they'll press that panic button, and our guys will come. So there is that kind of community sharing in the township.
But Felicia, there is a very important aspect that needs to be taken into account. The danger that we have from our side is that if, with the wisdom of hindsight, we are acting outside the area which we are authorized to do so, public ground or your neighbor's property, and there is a claim for public liability, we're at risk. And this is part of the aspects that I'm sure we won't have time to touch on tonight.
No, in fact, that's what I want to do. After this, I just want to go into recommendations. What do you recommend? How can we have people ensure that their homes are safer? After the break, we'll talk about that.
200 Rand a month for the protection of your lives. Is that really expensive?
Are private security companies effective in preventing crime? Yes or no? Your opinion does matter. Call 082 280 8585 now.
Have you had a holiday from hell?
But it sank within 20 minutes, so you really didn't have much time to, you know, think what to do.
Crayfish and prawn dinners.
They gave us a bucket of water with a tin to wash in. They gave us a roll with a little bit of tuna and said, that's supper.
Exciting. And?
We actually didn't have a holiday. We had nothing but hell.
Do private security companies have enough power to protect their clients? That's what we're going to talk about right now. Mike, you've just joined the panel.
Thank you, Felicia. Yes, we listened to the stories tonight of the crime that's going on. You know, I need to ask one effective question. There were two things that came out of this debate tonight. One was that it's very expensive. The second thing was, could you imagine if there were no security companies on that road tonight?
Well, the police should be there.
Well, you know, with the new Chubb BBR group, we have more vehicles in Gauteng than what the police do. It's almost double the amount of vehicles they do. Could you imagine if that force was removed from the road tonight? Not only ourselves, but any other company. They say that there's 600 to 800 vehicles. It's a guess. I wouldn't argue with those figures. The other point of view that I want to just expound was that security is expensive. I mean, 200 Rand a month for the protection of your lives. Is that really expensive? You know, it's the cost of a meal. You see these men that have been shot here tonight that are putting their lives on the line for a client. And I need to ask you, is that too expensive for security? For people putting their lives on the line for you? I don't think so. I think that this country couldn't do without the private security companies. For whatever reasons that the police are in the position that they are in at the moment, they can't cope. Clearly they can't cope. I think that the crime in the country would escalate into total anarchy if we weren't around.
In fact, I was just about to ask Captain Barnes, can we cope without private security companies?
Well, currently, Felicia, the security companies and the police are working very nicely together. They really have a lovely partnership. And we do appreciate the support they do give us from time to time if it is needed.
Looks like people are calling the private security companies before they call the police now.
Well, I suppose that's what they will definitely do if they have a panic button in their house and can just press the panic button for reaction.
For the sake of our viewers again, could you tell us what number should someone call when there is a problem in the house?
10-111. When I just started at a public relations office, we had a very nice little way of telling the little kids at the schools how to do it. We'd say it's 10111.
Oh.
So if you can just do that, you'll remember 10-111.
Because there are situations where a 3-year-old has managed to dial that number and help save the mother or father's life.
If a little child of 3 years old can know about 10-111, then they can save a life, yes.
The two gentlemen here who went on patrol with us, could you kindly stand up? Use the mic. Good evening. Scary job.
Definitely it is. But
what's the scariest thing that you've ever had to do?
Well, a person can't really say every job is scary because you don't know what to expect. So you have to be prepared.
And you, officer?
Felicia, we are trying our level best
to show up that our visibility in the community is there. And if you want to prove it, if you go to the police station, you'll find out we detain a lot of these people. But together with the police, we need a great support so that we can conquer this situation.
Thank you. Tips and solutions. Help me out. Let's help people out there who are watching the program today to say, okay, this is what I'm going to start doing so that I'm not a victim. We all are victims in many ways.
There is no doubt that the individual has a role and a responsibility for their own security by awareness, by actually just taking the necessary precautions. But even then, the frustration is that you never will quite know what to do. There is a strong feeling at the moment with the hijackings and the shooting incidents that have taken place related to hijackings that one of the things one shouldn't be doing is wearing a seatbelt, because when you're faced with a gun from outside the car and being told to get out, to do this, to loosen the seatbelt, could easily imply that you're going for a firearm, and that nervous individual carrying that gun may react in the wrong way. So
are you saying we should not wear seatbelts now?
No, I'm not saying that at all. But you know, this is the reality, because if you're standing outside the car, imagine the door height is here, and I'm told to get out, and I do this to release my seatbelt. What is the natural reaction or the feeling that nervous individual with a firearm on the other side is, where life has no meaning? So I think awareness is number one. And number two is that you must take the necessary precautions to do. This is no longer a country where you can wander around and smell the daisies and look at the clouds in the sky.
So precaution.
And
okay,
that is the role.
Captain Barnes?
Definitely, Felicia, if I can add to that, just firstly, being aware of your surroundings all the time. And obviously, if you see somebody else in trouble, do not intervene. Don't put your life at stake.
Like Muller did here. That was dangerous. Very dangerous. Okay.
But definitely phone is, as soon as possible, phone or immediately phone the police so that we can react. The people are trained. They know exactly what to do. And then, as well, personal safety. People tend to forget from time to time to lock the doors. And there's many cases where there's been house robberies and other sorts of robberies or just plain theft that could have been prevented if they were just more aware of their surroundings as well as personal safety.
Mike?
Yeah, prevention, you know, Felicia, I don't think there's anybody in the audience here that wouldn't admit that they have a heightened awareness level in this country today. I'm armed on a lot of occasions. I still approach my gates with trepidation. I'll drive past if necessary and turn around and come back, just so that I can have the edge at all times. It's awareness, you know, taking care, making sure that your children are aware of what to do should you not be there, where to call, what to do, where the panic buttons are, that sort of thing. Having a panic button on your keyring, of your motor car keys, that type of awareness level, making sure that those doors are locked at night, that the perimeters of the house are illuminated so that a security company or a police officer investigating or responding to a summons for help is able to see, aid and abet those people as much as you possibly can.
Do you pay extra money to have security come and wait for you at your gate?
No, Felicia, we believe that it's very important in this world we live in, and therefore we provide that as part of the service. Obviously, it can't be abused, because the reality is that those resources out there are to attend to panic buttons, but on the other side, the risk that somebody like yourself faces coming in late at night, for example, needs to be attended to as well. So there's no extra charge for that.
There should be a general alertness amongst the people. In most of the cases that we've dealt with, especially in the last 6 months, we found that it was negligent in most cases. People were careless. You know, some people in areas that they know they're definitely dangerous. You'd find a lady moving late at night at about 11 o'clock. You know, I regard that as careless. You know, people don't lock their their car doors, in hijacking situations, And then, of course, the other thing is the performance levels of the police. I think the police are not that much motivated. Their level of motivation is very low. The reasons why, I don't know. You see.
Again, it's a perception. As you said, that's these experiences. Very unfortunate. People have a bad experience with the police once. Then they have a very bad perception of the police overall. And that's not really the situation. I can take for Johannesburg, for instance. A lot has been done in Johannesburg and throughout Gauteng for that matter. But we can see it very clearly in Johannesburg, in the certain station that falls under the Johannesburg area. Where projects were run, where initiatives has been taken together with the community. And the perception of policemen being demotivated, I think 1 or 2, yes, but the policemen are still very much motivated to protect the citizens. We wouldn't have been so motivated if it wasn't for the community assisting us and supporting us the way they do. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Well, thanks for coming. Really appreciate your time, taking time out of your busy week and being with us. But I'd like to conclude by saying private security companies are often slated for their actions, especially by the media. But from what we have seen here today, they definitely provide a necessary service in protecting our communities. Until next time, goodbye.
These are 3 of the letters that we've received at the Felicia on E! Show just this week. From Gwen in Gaborone. I want to thank you for the show featuring Miriam Makeba. You have given Mama Africa the honor she deserves, and I appreciate that you have not waited to acknowledge her work posthumously. From Simpiwe in Swaziland, I have been watching the Felicia show for about 4 years now. All the shows motivate people. You are one of the greatest motivators in South Africa, if not Africa. Our final letter from Sibu Siswe, Susan and Sharon, 3 sisters from Zimbabwe. We watch your program through the DSTV network. We really enjoy your show and we enjoy the motivational messages in particular.